What's up guys, I have finally released a Discord server for prop firm traders that are actually trading challenges, no one that's just going to be getting signals. The best way I found to do this is to go through Prop Firm Match. What Prop Firm Match are the best prop firm comparison tool in the whole industry, and what they allow you to do is compare prop firms, understand the highest reviewed firms and battle it out between prop firms and find the one that you truly can go for. There's 2 steps to this. To join my Discord server, in which I will email you, the first thing is purchase an account using the code MATCH, whether it be through this website or just on the prop firm's website. That is the first step. And then you have 14 days when you click on the loyalty points on Prop Firm Match to claim your points, get double loyalty points. If we go on to this, using your email, prop firm that you bought, account size, and then use Match here and use the code Wilksey, and this will allow me to send you an email for the group. So we have traders that are trading prop firms, and there's no traders in there that are going to waste my time and your time to get the most out of our trading experience. So I'll see you guys there. Let's get into the video. Here for another trading week, we're going to go through things day by day now, going into a live trading week, which I like to do. It showcases all the emotions, the feelings and thoughts throughout the week, and really allows me to really put myself out there and expose myself to the fact I'm not perfect, and you don't have to be. Even if you do want to make a bit of money in trading, you're not ever going to be perfect, and you've got to learn to work with your emotions at times. All right, news for this week then. A lot of it is the PMI. So we know that we've got pretty weak pound and euro at the minute, especially euro, which means we could see more downside later in the week. With that, I think services is very good for the pound at the minute, but manufacturing might pull that back a bit. One thing that's interesting is the euro rate, and they're actually looking to hold rates at 2.15 for the first time in a year. I think it is over a year. We'll see how that reacts. Will we get a cut, a surprising cut? We'll have to wait and see. And apart from that, we've got a few speeches. We do have a bit of manufacturing later on for the USD. So yeah, all on Thursday really. Everything else is pretty dry. So really looking out for that day. It means we could get some movement in the opposite direction to start the week to where we end up going if we are setting up for a move later in the week. So going to EU for this week, I actually want to just talk about the potential for missing the overall higher time frame move, and with that being okay with it. One trader I know caught this. I'm going to put his description in here for YouTube. He's a brilliant trader. He's called Eyes on the Charts. He will not disappoint, I promise you that. He goes through all the fundamentals. He definitely takes a very, very nice approach to the market, and I think many people can learn from him as well. So he doesn't get enough love. I'm going to put that down, and hopefully, yeah, you enjoy him, because I do want to shout out good traders that I know, because there isn't many, and a lot of them are fluff, and this guy is just pure analysis. I love it. But yeah, this week, I noticed he actually caught a buy on EU from down here, and he's holding, I think, up to the highs. He might get out if he sees some exit signals. Great move. What for me, though, I said last week is because I was looking for buys around this area, I was very, very cautious, and I would have had ideas for buys, and they would have lost. So I wouldn't have been looking for the move this low. I accept that if it runs up without an entry for me, I'm not going to chase the buy. What I want to see is an engulfing bullish candle, so I want to see tomorrow close bearish, for example, and then we get a break maybe of this. And then I might be able to play a move up to the high, expecting this to be the weekly low. At the minute, I don't know if that's a topic for the week. We haven't took this high out yet, which to an extent could be a potential inducement for downside. So we might take that out and then drop. So I'm currently eyeing that up. But that's me painting a picture for later on in the week, if we do get more upside ideas. Saying that, if we don't do that, we may come and take out previous weekly low. So also keeping an eye out. If we take this high here and we start to see bearish candles, then I won't be selling it, but I'll be watching to see how that plays out. And that's really it for EU. I'm just waiting for buys. Simple as that. It's a bit contradictory to GU because I'm looking for something different on GU. And I did work on a bit of work over the weekend, like I spoke about. Was it worth taking a sell going into this week? My idea then is because, yeah, in theory, we are obviously still respecting this area here, this weekly fair value gap. We did make the high from this low, and we've cleared and made new highs, but we have had an issue in here. So if this pullback was not enough, because this is how I got to look at it, if this pullback, this wasn't enough to take out these highs, then we've then cleared that low. Is that going to be enough in itself to clear the highs? I don't think that is enough, so I'm not going to favour going for buys right now. I would like to see this area filled before going up, because that point and this low that is potentially a liquidity point, it's very close to that fill, and just taking it out by a little bit, to me, I'd be surprised if it runs up, but it'd be a very nice buy if it does play out. I'm going against that and expecting us to come up and enter this weekly fair value gap to get a sell-off later in the week to fill this. If it doesn't happen, I'll lose and I'll take a couple of losses. I'm happy taking that because I have to take trades at a certain point and I need to make good judgments. I need to take my time. I've used the week end to calculate if it's worth taking, and I have decided that it's worth taking. My reasoning for it is because we had a strong weekly closure at this liquidity point. Now, we didn't take this liquidity point out later in the week. We took it out on Wednesday. And this is where I also want to go into more detail, that how you can get better is, okay, you understand on Wednesday this got taken out. If we had a harsh rejection off it and we had a weekly bearish week close, then I'd be sitting there going, it didn't like that area, it didn't like that low. But what we did do is we did see price come up and react further, and we didn't really break through this daily POI. And I did say in the weekly outlook, I am looking for this area to be cleared. So I am looking for that as a break, as an overall move. But today could still close maybe below that wick high, could be below previous weekly high, and then we could see the drop later in the week if the overall weekly does flip bearish and continue bearish. We have to remember we had a daily fair value gap in here as well. So I think there's a pretty good probability for this to play out. I don't know if it will win. I know though, if I try and play a buy at the minute when the weekly time frame is bearish at the minute, this was the leg to be respected for upside, and it didn't hold. We have taken out. We haven't closed through it with a body, which I'd prefer to see. The overall idea, though, is if we go up, and otherwise I might be looking at this going, well, it's a bullish confirm, we're going to go up. Well, if we're going to go up, we've got this area to break, and then we've got this, it's lagging a little bit here, sorry guys. We've got this wick as well, and then we've got this order book fair value gap, and another wick. We've got about 4 POIs in the way for us to come up. We could have an issue at any one of them and break last month's low, which we cleared last week. So I'm keeping an eye on that. And I'm going, right, if we can fill up weekly, for me at the minute, sales will be done until I see the weekly closure, then I can reassess. But yeah, that's my trade there. My trade is based on if we're going the 4 hour. Over on the 4 hour for this week, though, I'm looking at, can we see a 4 hour leg to take a trade off from the previous week? From previous weekly high, we're only about halfway from where the leg was created. With this potential inducement, I was happy to take a trade off the inducement. I had an imbalance feel a bit lower. Sometimes it can be a bit too much trying to calculate, I always say, at the exact point at which price will drop from. I'm not really caring about getting an entry at the daily, even though that would have been a better entry. I could get a 2.5R from my entry there. Yes, I could have got a 4R higher up, but there was all the chance I wouldn't have got tagged in. And I'd rather get the move than try and be clever and call a bigger R. And we'll see what we do going into the rest of this week. But that's really the only move so far. I've got a high one set, 50% of the weekly if we get stopped out. My whole idea is if we respect this weekly fair value gap, then we could go down. And if we engulf that again, we're definitely going to go back up to the high. And that take of liquidity would have been enough to actually clear the current yearly high here, which I haven't actually marked out. That's really a wrap for those. We're coming to Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll talk through how the move is playing out, what I'm thinking. About a minute, I've been tagged in for about 5 hours. The game I play is I sit there and potentially just let price wiggle, wait for it to slow down in the upside momentum. We have to remember that this is the low of the week. It's been made on a Monday Asian session. Will it be very likely that this will be the low? I would say it was unlikely. From history, I wouldn't say it's usually made on a Monday. Only if we're trending really strong. At the minute, we're seeing pullbacks. So we are going to see a bit more wicks up and down, and we're going to see a bit more movement. Potentially wick soaring. That's the way we have to play this. But is what it is. We'll go into the rest of the week and see how we do. Yeah, catch you guys on Tuesday or something. Midway through the week now, we're on Wednesday afternoon. Let's go through what we've seen. We have not really got any news yet, so we're holding off with all the PMI tomorrow and the Euro rate. We're going to talk through what we've seen so far. So EU this week so far. Obviously, after respecting this weekly, we were expecting some upside. We did see Monday close bullish. We saw Tuesday take out its wick and close above it. So it's looking very bullish again. I've obviously missed entries because there's nothing for me to take in this area. But yeah, some buys down here were very nice. We spoke about that. It's now a case of will we continue to the highs. Today's actually struggled to come up. What we've created here is daily POIs. This is what I'd analyse now. Yesterday there wasn't too much going on, so I wanted to kind of do a brief one today instead. Got the daily there. It's not the best POI. It's quite small, but it's nice to mark in at least to see where we're at. Imbalance fill. I mean, we've already done that. Push right through it. There's no POIs here to have an issue at to go up. We have done the imbalance fill here as well this morning. No, just now actually we did that. We can see on the 1 hour. We've just had a range today on EU. Broke Asian low, come back up, come back down again. We are seeing very slow pullback structure, which does signify we're going up overall. 4 hour time frame, if we look, it's looking pretty clean. We've broken the downside, and we do have a lot of upside liquidity within this area, all marked in. Really here, coming to the first bit of this now, and we pull back. So are we going to carry that on? Will we actually respect the high and continue down at some point? It feels a bit different to what we've seen before. Maybe I'm a bit biased on it. I just don't know on EU and GU if we're going to revisit the highs yet, or are we going to have a stall point here where we're going to come into the summer months, going to get a bit tricky, and then we're going to see something that doesn't really make too much sense to me anyway. But at the minute, we'll see what we do. I'm waiting for Thursday's candle to engulf this high if we close bearish. Maybe able to catch a squeeze up to the high. If that happens, that is what I'll be looking for there. Coming on to GU now for the week. Let's go on the daily and let's talk through what we're seeing. Actually, the weekly, in fact, has filled the weekly fair value gap completely. So if we engulf this, we're going to be very bullish. And I may have made a wrong judgment there for the week. We can see on the daily time frame, still pushing up quite nicely. The daily candles are still bullish. We did create, similar to EU, this daily fair value, which I ain't going to mark in because I'm still bearish on the move on the weekly. So for me, that's not really a case of me marking that in. As for GU now, we spoke about it was coming up on Monday. We took previous weekly high in the end, and we filled the whole weekly up to this point. And now it's at a pivotal moment where we're going to see if we get that continued upside, we could be very bullish to the highs. We could push up to that far. I wouldn't expect it to, but we could. That makes that low there the move. We take that low and we go up. Very, very nice. And really, I could have equally took the buys this week. And will we go to the highs? My analysis was no, but I could be wrong. And straight up, I'll happily sit there. And what you've got to be as a trader is you've got to drop your ego and go, yeah, you know what? I was wrong in that scenario. I could have maximised profit, but I did what I thought was right in the moment. Mistakes have to be there to be made to actually learn. And I can gracefully take these losses. I took one the other day. I don't know where my entries have gone. They've just disappeared off the face of the earth. This first position we had set here, didn't we? On Monday. And that got taken out. So we had that pretty much lapping with this position that got tagged in this morning. So that got stopped out overnight. This one got tagged in. And that was my idea. We need to see this weekly respected. We've obviously filled it. I've nearly got stopped. I was about less than 5 pips from getting taken out there. So it's nice to see that I'm still in. If we do drop, that's why I cover the weekly. I don't just have it right here because we can pierce through it. But it is looking quite bullish this week. We have seen the DXY drop significantly as well. But learning lessons there to be had. I think, like I said, I'm happy to take 2 positions for the week. I always mitigate my risk on the funded accounts. And whilst the challenges are quite slow and boring, the funded accounts risking between 0.5 and 1% allows me to not feel like I'm over risking, especially on the FTMO with 1% risk. That's the only account I risk 1%. I don't take my EU positions on that account at all. So again, I'm taking less positions with a higher risk, which just means that overall, it's still very low risk in my eyes. And that could be the end of the week. Either we're going to see price take me out and that'll be my week completed. Unless we get that engulfing bullish candle in EU, maybe Friday for a move. Otherwise, we're going to see if we can get, at the minute I'm waiting for, this candle hopefully closes week bullish. Then we get an engulfing. Then I'll sell on the Friday. So I wouldn't expect to see EU present a buy on a Friday and GU present a sell. What will I do if they both present? I'll take both positions. The reason why I'll take both positions is because I can't decide which one will win. And I used to trade EU and GU so similarly because it was all based on the DXY. I only placed entries that aligned with the DXY, which means I'd always only take one of the 2 pairs. Now, I will take different positions on both, even though that's very counterintuitive. That is something I've had to work on the data and actually come to terms with, which has been difficult for me. There we go. That's really up to date where we're at with the week. We might see this continue, but we need to see it drop hard now. You can see the order flow has been very bullish. Ever since we took that low out, we have not revisited that low. We've continued to form higher highs and higher lows. So we need to start breaking some structure here to get some downside. But we'll see how we finish the week. We'll come back on probably tomorrow and then Friday, maybe just Friday. Call the overall PMI that we saw and then talk through the euro rate and how that's setting up with everything to finish the week. And let's see if we do fail here. We have that opportunity to see an issue here. What we did see though on GU as well, actually, we broke that daily fair value gap. So there's more chance today that we were going to see that continued upside, and we have done. But yeah, that's a wrap so far. We'll come back later in the week and see how we're doing. We're here on Friday morning now, so we have seen the full week play out. We're going to talk through the news yesterday, which really PMI didn't do too much. For Euro and mostly Pound, it come out really as expected. We did see a bit weaker than expected services PMI for Pound. Yeah, still above 50, so it's still pretty good print. Really contrasting figures on the USD manufacturing services. One coming out under 50, which is really bad, and then services coming out amazing, which is above 50. That's very rare to see both of them look so different, with the Euro rate coming out actually the same as previous, as expected there. So potentially some strength for the Euro there overall. I'll have to wait and see how that sets up going into the final closing of the week. Let's talk through the week as a whole in EU. There's not too much to talk about now. We know that as the weekly looks really strong still, it does look good to test the highs, really. The only thing I can look at, what I want to say is I've been studying what the move up has been like the whole year. And after the deep pullbacks from the very lows, and I like to do stuff like this because it's reading price. From where we broke out here, even if you wanted to look here around this area, when we see engulfing candles here to the downside, which happen very rarely after a pullback. So we see the pullback. When do we get an engulfing bearish? Well, we don't. We continue up. Come up. Haven't got a bearish engulfing yet. Haven't got a bearish engulfing. Okay, we got a bearish engulfing. We made the pullback continue from that point. But it was never sweeping a high. And you could tell the pullback wasn't completed because it's still making lower lows and lower highs. So that doesn't really count. As for the phase we're in, which is similar to now, is this. And what we can see here is we had an engulfing candle there, never took the high, continued up. Then we saw an engulfing candle here. Again, we did continue up, but we had no POIs to the left. What I look at on EU is for the minute, we've seen the pullback. We should be getting a clean run up to the highs. We shouldn't be sweeping previous daily highs and rejecting them and engulfing candles. When we come into what we're actually failing at here, I know a lot of people don't look at it like this because of the gaps and stuff and the way this gapped up, but I see this as a wick, a daily wick in my eyes. I've had a little issue at that. So is this the start of potentially seeing a struggle from this low, failing to clear this high? Maybe it will just go up, but we could, at a minute, pull back into this daily fair value gap to give us that. But you wouldn't normally want to see that after seeing price stagger so much. And you remember, so far this week, yeah, we have come up, and this is the area we had failed at previously. It was this fair value. Not that I'm too keen on marking up areas there, but you can see that we had a fake out at it and we've had a retest. There could be chances that we drop from it. Not that at the minute you can see that on the chart, but I'm very, very interested in how we react at this area here now, because if we break it, I think we could start to drop. And if we respect it, yeah, we could just be making further higher lows to continue up. We'll have to wait and see. But EU's done for the week. GU's the one I took trades on. EU was running clean, and if it come up to the highs, it'll be nice. But it never gave me an entry, and if it doesn't come up to the highs, my trades were set for the highs being cleared. If we engulf this high today, I'll be looking for buys for continuations, really, going into next week for Monday. See if we can get that last squeeze up. GU, though, we could see that. What have we saw this week? So I took two losses. We took a loss entry that was placed around here. And then we had a stop loss there with the next position set. And then my stop loss on the second position was here. So we got taken out. So that's where my second position stop loss was. We got taken out just. I can't account for that. That's just not. That's just unlucky. It happens in my day. That's the thing. I've back tested it where it's happened. I don't change my rules to fit every single trade winning because that's not realistic. You'll never ever do that. Happy to sit this one and go, yep, maybe I got the bias right. Wicked, cool. If I see further confirmations, I'll play another sell because until the weekly's closed and my bias is wrong. My whole weekly bias was if we don't tap into that fair value gap fill, I want to see price fill this at a maximum, maybe pierce it a little bit. It pierced it a bit too much and retrace and close back outside of it for that continuation down. So the fact that I'm seeing that now with a daily confirmation yesterday that took out the high, engulfed the low and the body of the previous day, not only that, we did see a shift. So to give us that upside to continue back in, we know that we're in bearish structure. And what you want to see is, you want to see these daily POIs be respected because that's the only one that we formed in here so far. When we've just gone and faked out and engulfed that straight away, to me, it's telling me that the sells are in control again. So I don't think about these two losses when taking this position because if I sit out and I go, yeah, this is going to go down, I'm not taking it because I took two losses this week, and it runs to the low, and it's a 3R trade, I've missed out on an R, and I'm overall 5R worse than I would be if I took this trade. No, is it 5R? Well, overall, I'm worse off than I would be if I took the risk, because it makes sense. If the weekly gives me clues that I'm bullish again, I will happily take this trade off on Monday morning and not leave it up to emotions, because there's no point. I can't account for what happens. All I can do is make decisions. So agent session coming, finishing off. I took an entry just before 7 o'clock. Manual position with this 1 hour leg to be respected. Expecting the golden zone area to be the last resort for price to be respected. And that's really it. That's my overall bias. That's what I'm happy to take. Playing to that fill, which is about 140 pips, 3R with a 50 pip stop. Simple as that. No thinking about it. Get off for the rest of the week. Let that play out and see where we're at. So that's the week wrapped up. 2 losses. Don't get emotional if you do lose, because I've had the worst currently. I mean, we can't say this yet because the month's not over. We're currently at the worst overall period in my whole time trading this strategy. Last year, my worst month was 1.95. This year, I've had a -2, that's worse. -3, -2, they're both worse. And I'm at a -4 at the minute. This wins will be at -1. So it's mitigating some damage there. And I'm really happy with like a -1 a month. I'm not happy with a -5 a month. That point there is for me to reevaluate where were the best moves coming from in July, if there was any on the higher time frames, and if there wasn't, why? What was the clues to suggest that maybe we were going to have a difficult month overall? But as a whole, I'm happy with the moves that I've taken so far, and I might evaluate them later on and be like, yep, probably made a mistake here, so be it. But I need to learn to get better. I need the losses to be there to get better. And did I learn much during these periods? Not really, because I didn't really take many losses. But now I can start to learn again. So I'm always grateful for these periods, just as much when I'm winning. And I can't always win all the time. The mindset you've got to adopt when you're trading is keep a log of all your trades, see the periods that are good. Over the years, you can really build up a live representation of your data rather than the backtesting data and go, this is what I can expect. I had a really bad month here. Maybe that'll come again at some point. So maybe I can expect a -4 a month. But up to this point this year, I've only expected to have a -3 a month as my maximum in the live data. So it's a shock every time I get a winning month above 10R or I get a losing month above -5R. Because I'm not really expecting that. I mean, in the data, I would say the winners, yes, but I don't expect to catch all the winners that are in the strategy because I'm not a robot. I'm just human. There you can see that's really the advice I'd give for that. And you can see that looks horrible. But I'm not acting emotionally any time during these trades. I'm taking what I see and what makes sense. That's all I can do. And let's go to the accounts to finish off. And why I don't feel as bad as probably a lot of other traders is, go through all the funded first, then we'll talk through the challenges. I'm in 4 funded accounts, 3 phase 1s. The 4 funded accounts are 2 FTMO 200Ks, one at just under 1% risk, 0.9% risk. We're down 3% on that. Taking them this month on GU. And obviously minus 1.5%, taking 3.5 risk positions on GU as well. This position that I'm in will either be -4, -2 on the accounts, or relatively close, -1 maybe, and then -0.5. I think we'll actually be back at break even or something, because I took 3 losses. That's a 3R. Around break even again, so be it. And I love being around break even because you know the next win's going to put you in profit. A strategy I use when I'm in drawdown is, all I care about in drawdown is, I see it as, if I'm -3, I need 3% to get back to the profit target of 100k or 200k in this case. That's how I view it, because in my head, I don't care when I'm in drawdown about getting a payout, because you're not going to get a payout unless you have a huge trade. And I don't care about huge trades all the time. If it's a bonus, then it's great. But you need to adopt the mindset when you're in drawdown, because all you're thinking about, and why you fail the funded accounts, you're thinking about a payout when you're 5% down on the funded account. You need to think about getting back to break even. And to get back to break even is no different being down 5% in a funded account. Getting back to break even is the same as being at 0% on a phase 2, getting to 5% on a phase 2. And that's the way you've got to view it. That will change the game. I'll have to do a video on that because that is a real game changer. Down to just over 3% because I took 4 losses on the 5s this month, 0.75 risk. Same funded next, 4 losses, 0.75 risk. Down 4% on the phase 1s now, so we've gone to phase 1s. Took 4 losses there. I mean, the E8 dashboard is really nice to see that actually. 2 1% losses on, 3 1% losses on GU, 1% loss on EU. The funded next account here is at $92,000. That's pretty close to being blown actually as well. But if that goes, then I'll just sit out and wait for a payout on this, I think. And then we're up 1.8% on Think Capital, which we were up about 6.5% at the end of last month. That means that really I'm back into murky waters. If this loses, it'll be around break even. But just got to take what I can take really and just go with the flow, see where I'm at, and really focus on getting that drawdown really, because the challenges will just running themselves, won't they? They'll just do their own thing. And that's the week wrapped up. So overall, I'm going to have to see what this trade does. It will potentially be a hard period because on GU here, we are to an extent maybe creating some sort of range, especially with that candle there. If we were to go up and continue up now, that wouldn't make too much sense to me. And that'd be difficult to try and call how exactly we'd push down and then continue back up like that. But the option's always there for that to happen. And sometimes the markets to me don't make sense. And really sometimes, and the best thing to understand is you don't have to make sense in a market 365 days of the year. There is going to be 1 month or 2 months in your year that you're going to go, I don't understand what's going on. Don't change your strategy based on 1 or 2 months when 10 months are good. Just say, okay, these periods, I will succumb to these periods, I'll lose. And when the months are good that are going to come in, because they do come in, but the problem you've got is you don't wait. Once you wait, you take the right positions, and that's it. So I hope you took a lot of value from this one. I've had a lot of losses, but I've share a lot of good psychology, I think. And there's the proof. Every trade's taken in real time. I share all my losses. I don't hide away. I show you my data. And that's what I love about what I do, is because every trader needs to be transparent. A lot of them aren't. And that's what sets me apart in being able to help you guys out more, because when you can relate to a trader like me, what you realise is even though I'm funded with quite a lot of capital, trading doesn't get easier. In fact, it gets harder because you've got something to lose. But I love to share that because it's proof that in your head when you're going, right, when I'm 200k funded, all of a sudden life will be great. Nah, it's going to be harder because you've got 200k to lose. If you're sitting there blowing 25k challenges, 3 of them in the last 2 weeks, for example, you've got nothing to lose. But now I do have something to lose, and I've got putting my balls on the line every week and showing you that I'm exposing myself to any problems I have in my life, any problems I have in trading, and how I deal with them. It can only help out traders for the better. That's the real value that traders need to share with their audience. You can't be getting distracted because you've got to focus on what you're doing mostly first off. What I'm doing doesn't make a difference to how you trade. But if you can take certain things from me, more psychology-wise, that's what's going to help you out. So have a great weekend. See you guys in the last week of July next week, and hopefully we can make up and get back into some profit, really. Who knows? See you guys. Take care. Bye.